Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. It is Christian here. You're tuned in for more of my 2 cents. If you are new to the channel, then welcome. Thank you so much for coming over my way on YouTube. I appreciate having you here. Hopefully you will click around, stick around, enjoy the dialogue, conversation, and join the 2 cents crew. We would love to have you. And if you are a returning 2 center, then hey family, we are about to get into another good video, a reaction video to something that I think is actually a really good conversation, and I have quite a few examples to give, so I can't wait to jump into this one. But before we get started, there are 3 points that matter most before I start any dialogue or discussion. Number one, you're not alone. Number two, you're not crazy. Number three, God, your creator, still loves you, and I do too. And if you're not familiar with why I use those 3 points, let me go ahead and give you a brief explanation because we do have some newcomers, okay? Some new subscribers to the channel, honey. So we got to welcome them, okay? Welcome you once, welcome you twice, welcome you 3 times in Jesus Christ. You know how they used to do at church. Anyway, um, those are my 3 points because I deconstructed about 6 or 7 years ago, and I didn't know that I was on a deconstruction journey until 2019, like intentionally deconstructing. I had already stopped going to church, my husband and I had, but we were very, very intentional about like relearning and not relearning, but actually doing away with old indoctrination and teachings. And it was a lonely journey. We didn't talk to other family members about it. Nobody knew that we were going through this, that we were actually exploring these things and learning new things and rebuilding ourselves spiritually and emotionally. And it was a very lonely process. I grew up in a Pentecostal background. My mother was ordained as an evangelist like in 97. And so we spent so much of our time at church that was really my entire identity and what I thought that I should do and who I should be my entire adulthood life and the kind of children I should raise. And then there were a series of events that would happen in church that would lead me to understand that I was bigger and better than in the indignant things that, I was subjected to, the ridiculous things that I was, experiencing at the hands of people that were meant to be, loving and kind and gracious and, you know, gaining so much clarity and wisdom as well as souls for the kingdom. They became the ops, in my life and in my story. And long story short, like I said, it was a very lonely process. And after the deconstruction completely happened, um, I felt, well, in the process, I actually felt crazy a little bit. Like some of the things that were happening and some of the stories that I would share and tell my mom or other people, it was almost like they didn't believe me. Like, even though my husband was supporting and backing it up, and we had so many details and so many receipts, people just don't listen to you when you're talking about church. When you're telling them what people at church have done, it's like people who are still in it, they're like, but you can suffer for Christ's sake. That ain't God's will. You need a covering. You shouldn't have left like that. That ain't, like, it's always something else you could have done. It's never the right thing to leave abuse. It's never the right thing to get out of bondage. It's never the right thing to choose your peace. You're supposed to just go through it because they're going through it. You're supposed to go through it because, you know, you're there for God and not for people. Well, ma'am, people are there. So yeah, I gotta leave because I'm pissed at them. I ain't pissed at God. So it was one of those things where I felt alone and then I felt crazy. And then I finally got to the point in the process where I realized that God still loved me. And it didn't matter what nobody else thought. It didn't matter what nobody else had said, matter what nobody else had told me. All I knew was that I had felt and I had seen the love of God in my life, and I was sticking to that no matter what. And I was no longer going to let anybody else come between my relationship and my creator. That's me and mine. It's in me, and I know who I am. So whatever you think about me doesn't matter. So that's why I opened with those 3 points. Just want to give some backstory and some history there so you know a little bit more about me and you understand the wavelength that I, vibrate on. That's a video coming up too, talking about vibrations and such in church, because this stuff got the church folks in a tizzy. But we'll talk about another video. Today's video, we are going to be watching a pastor actually give some feedback about members outgrowing their pastors being able to do so or not being able to do so because their pastor has not grown. Let's watch the video and then I'll be back with my 2 cents.
Cannot go further than the pastor. It's as simple as that. It's a spiritual law. You can't, and most pastors are not growing. Most pastors are surviving in their personal life and just preaching on Sunday morning. Most are not studying to eat, they're studying to preach. There's a difference. Understand what I'm saying? And so most pastors, most leaders don't grow. I'm not saying that they're bad. Some of them are wonderful people, but they don't grow. And because they don't grow, they can't take you any further. And God is not interested in having any children where their growth is stumped.
All right. So I do not know this pastor's name. I actually saw this clip on Larry Reed Live's Facebook, and I was interested in it. I saved the video, and um, you know, I didn't, of course, do a video on it until now. But it just got me to thinking because I actually was having a conversation with one of my friend girls from the church that we attended in Mississippi, which actually was the catalyst for us to actually detach from church and kind of, oh my goodness, it was such an exposing experience. And the more, well, we're so many years removed from leaving that ministry now, almost 10 years. It happened in 2014 that we left that church. But this friend of mine, she used to go to the church too, and she no longer attends. And we were just like talking about it. We were talking about like the lack of growth, the lack of growth that he's had. Like when we were there, it seemed like the church was doing well and more people were joining, and um, the things that were happening, community wise, and the kind of support that he gave to us as members and things like that. It seemed like it was a wholesome environment that had the potential to do great things. He had a big vision. He wanted to be a little Bill Winston child. He thought he was like a little BWJ, a Bill Winston Jr., honey. He wanted to do what Bill Winston has done in Chicago. He wanted to do that in Mississippi. Needless to say, none of that happened. Watch some past videos on that to hear how his plan didn't come to pass, but it was allegedly God's vision for him to do it. But I don't know why God wouldn't fund it and see it through, but who knows? But yeah, a lot of the teachings that pastor, preached and gave, it was as if though he didn't practice it. You know how they say like you got to practice what you preach? He didn't practice it. It wasn't in demonstration in his life. It wasn't a physical, realistic manifestation that we could see. It was like these things would happen in our lives as members, but they wouldn't happen in his life. They wouldn't happen for him or his wife or his family. And it would take some time, of course, after being removed from the environment to truly understand and grasp that, like now, what we know and understand to be limiting beliefs in those blocks, where depending on what you've been through and what you have access to, and what all you need to tear down and rebuild, there'll be some walls that you'll never get through. You'll never get over. There'll be some doors you'll never be able to open that will always be closed to you because you have a block that does not allow you to truly understand. It does not allow you to truly visualize or feel deserving of. And so for us, when we started going to the ministry, we were 21. We had just gotten married, and my mom suggested that we go to the church because she'd been before, she'd preached there. And so she felt like he was going to be a good pastor. And so I took her reference and went, and we loved it. We enjoyed it. We started attending, listening. That was my first time really listening to a sermon, because my whole young adult life, I did not listen to my childhood pastor. I didn't know what was being said. I didn't understand what was being taught, and I didn't care. I was sleepy. I was hungry. I was tired. I was bored. And that's just being honest. And I think that a lot of parents should be honest with themselves about their children's engagement in church. You may have them there, but are they actually engaged, and do they care? But our parents didn't care. But I digress. So I didn't really start listening to church sermons until I was married and at this ministry. And he taught some stuff that was a little bit easier to grasp and apply, because even though I was indoctrinated into certain beliefs, I still had an open, free mind and heart to certain principles and taking certain action. Like, I knew about tithing, I understood that you did it, but I didn't really get the concept of what you were to expect back from it. And so it was kind of like these were new bricks and layers and foundation being, put down in my life. And it was easy to add on to it. I didn't have to break anything down of negative experiences. Like, yeah, I tried sowing before, I tried tithing before, and it didn't work for 10 or 15 years. And God never blessed me. I didn't have that to go off of. I was 21. And like I said, I slept through majority of church when I was a kid. So it was new to me. It was new to my husband. We understood it and we practiced it without any limiting beliefs, without any fear, without any reservations. And we were able to see so many miraculous things unfold. Now, there would become some blocks based off of circumstances where we would start feeling like things got difficult and things were hard for us. But there would always be like some glimmers and glimpses of hope and, favor, and some miraculous things would happen for us here and there, but it was never like really consistent. And I'll say that it didn't really become more consistent until we became more independent spiritually. After we started realizing that there were some things that we were doing on our own, like apart from our church, apart from our pastor, not having people touch and agree and pray for us and do this and do that. When we started realizing that Courtney and Christian had power, like that we could pray for ourselves, that we could believe for ourselves, that we could see things for ourselves, we didn't lean on too much talk and too many words from other people. We just leaned in harder and stronger on what we knew that worked for us, which was good, because that's usually the downfall of a lot of people in church. As this pastor just said, you never grow past your pastor because he's not really giving you anything that will help you do that. You're already struggling with or bound by things in your past that doesn't allow you to trust, believe, or actually see things happen. You're always feeling as if though you have to go to them, seek God for me, touch and agree with me, Pastor, I'm gonna sow this seed for this into you. Like, no, what about you sow the seed into yourself? What about you spend some time with your creator by yourself? What about you focus and you meditate and you visualize and you write down what you want? Why don't you do that for you? And that's what you're never really taught or even given the freedom and autonomy to do, which nobody should have to give you that. But since you didn't have it growing up, and you usually more than likely were given religion, you never were really taught how to exercise faith. And so that is the downfall of most people, including pastors, and why they're stagnant most of the time, because they're not even exercising faith. They just know how many people they got coming. They just know how they can use their good words to get you to give, and they know what they can do based off of what the usual giving is. They don't ever really have to operate in faith because they get to operate in your funds. I'm going to say it again. They don't really have to operate in faith because they get to operate off of your funds. That is guaranteed income. It may fluctuate, but it's still coming. So what do I need faith for when I can just scream in your face for it? What do I need faith for when I can just scream in your face for it? I don't need to get on my knees and pray when I can hold my hand out for my needs from you. It's a difference that I think a lot of people don't really usually notice until they've given everything they have. And instead of blaming it on God or on a lack of their own faith, they'll just say that, God knows and God will come through or whatever. They don't ever really want to place any specific blame. So they don't hold anything accountable, anyone accountable. It just isn't God's will yet. And so this video was very, it was like, yeah, I get that. I understand. But see, the unfortunate part about it is that people will know that their leader is not growing. People will know that their leader is not um, evolving, and they'll stay around. They'll stick around. They'll know that. I am a firm believer that there should be no one that is a member of a church for beyond 5 or 10 years. I don't believe that you should be in any ministry beyond 5 or 10 years. That's just me. And I say that because there's no other level in life that you stay in something that long. Grade school, you got pre-K through 5th grade, and then you're in middle school from 6th grade to 8th grade, and then you're in high school. These are, 4 or 5 year increments of time. And then that's for education, and you're learning something every time you go to another level to apply in the next. And then you think about spiritually, your natural experience evolves, but your spiritual experience is stunted. You're supposed to stay there hearing the same person all the time. I wasn't listening to Miss Williams, my second grade teacher, when I was a freshman. I didn't know where Miss Williams was with her cute gold ankle bracelets, honey, and her little pumps. I don't know where she was, because she couldn't be my teacher as a freshman because she was my second grade teacher. So now you have a pastor that you may have met or been under when you were in your 20s, and now you're in your 50s. Explain that to me. What level in life have they reached where their sermons for you shouldn't apply to any season that you're in? And what level are you at where any message that they give still resonates with where you are in life? It just shouldn't be. They should be having new fresh words of encouragement and information and revelation for a new group or setting of people based off of where those people are in life. And you should be moved on to another environment, be it church or not. You don't have to be in church for 30, 50, 60 years, because let's be very clear, after you've really heard from a pastor for 5 years, you've heard all the scripture you're going to hear in different contexts and in different sermons, because it ain't that many scriptures that they're actually teaching from the books. Let's be very clear. They like to stick around and talk about the same stories. The woman at the well, the woman with the issue of blood, the miracles that Jesus did, right? That the same stories and parables are taught. Freeing the people from Egypt. Like, these are the stories that are expounded upon because they usually coincide with the level of obedience they need to extract from you. They need to tell you those things that play on the emotions from the standpoint that you are experiencing because you haven't evolved. The messages will shift and change when the people shift and change. I can't keep telling my children about ABCs and how to count from 1 to 10 when they're 12. That doesn't apply to me anymore, Mom. Why do you keep on singing the ABC song to me? Like, I'm not there. What are you doing? You're babying me, right? When people shift and change, information shifts and change. The way that you receive information shifts and change. Even the way that you look for information shifts and changes. Like, look at us. We were going to libraries. Before us, people had dictionaries and people had thesauruses and people had encyclopedias that they would reference, right? Now you got Google. Your information sources shifts and changes based off of the times and the seasons and social norms. And the fact that people think that hearing from the same person for 20, 30, 40, 50 years is admirable is actually concerning. It's very concerning. And again, it just goes to show you that people are not okay with evolving. They're okay with emotions, with comfortable, safe emotional support. And that's what majority of these pastors are. They're emotional support pastors. Like, you have emotional support pets, you got emotional support pastors. He know me. I'm comfortable. That's my covering. God told me to come here, but you didn't went through 2 new pastors at the same church, or we know God didn't tell you to come be under, but you're still there. So you don't forsake the assembling of ourselves amongst our brethren. Y'all gonna have to stop leaning on that scripture so tough, because y'all don't like the people y'all assembling with. Y'all don't trust the people y'all assembling with. Y'all don't enjoy being around the people you're assembling with. So make it make sense to me what it matters if you assemble with 2 people at your house, 5 people down to the Walmart, 3 people down to the IHOP, the Bob Evans, the Denny's, or the Waffle House. Gather where you want to gather. It doesn't matter if it's a steeple at the top or a bell at the top, child. Get somewhere where you are in unison and in fellowship with people who understand and respect who you are and where you are, that can empower you and encourage you for where you're going. Because right now, I feel like a lot of time is being wasted. A lot of life is being wasted in environments with people who cannot lead you, who cannot properly guide you, who don't even want to do either of the two because they're not even doing it for themselves. Who covers your pastor? You're covered by them, but who are they covered by? So now it's okay for all y'all to be on the same network plan? If they're covered by God, are you not too? Go about your business and do what you do. Because I could tell you right now, we have not missed a skip, a hop, or a beat since we decided to empty them seats down to the church. Okay? I don't have time for it. You can't get me to go to a Christmas service at church. I'm good, love, and joy. I've heard the story. I've heard it. I've enjoyed it. It's beautiful. Oh, it's so emotionally driven. I got it. There's only so many ways you can convey the wise men following the stars. There's only so many ways you can convey that them bringing gifts to the king. There's only so many ways you can convey that this teenager, right? In case your Bible don't tell you, but this teenager, Mary, got pregnant by this grown man. Well, not Joseph. Let's be very clear. It was a virgin birth. She got pregnant by a spirit and had a child, a savior. Oh my God. Oh, the stories. Oh, the stories don't be storying, child. You be giving Disney, but we ain't got to talk about it. It's only so many times I can watch that play, revised to get the same emotional response out of us about something that we either know, we've been told, we don't believe, but we still love it because it just speaks to the miracle signs and wonders that our God can do, and that God would choose just a regular human being to live out this kind of calling without her, you know, without her consent. But who, we don't have to get into the politics of it all. But all I'm saying is, whoo, child, I got to do that video on things in the Bible that don't make sense to me. I got to break it down for y'all. It's probably going to be a two-parter because I got some notes, baby, that's going to make y'all head spin when I bring up some of these points from these stories in the Bible. Y'all going to be like, dang, sis, you are not lying. I know, baby. Some of these stories are mind-blowing, but that's not for today. But yeah, this was a good video. And I said what I said earlier about the friend girl that I was talking about because she was saying how, because she still lives in Mississippi, even though we've moved to Texas. And even though she no longer goes to that church, she still sees the pastor and his wife from time to time. And she was telling me how their lives are pretty much in the same predicament, if not worse, than when we were members at the church. They haven't grown. The ministry hasn't grown. They're still going through the same things, making the same unwise decisions and moves, and I'm like, this is sad. But what would have happened had we stayed? What would have happened if we felt like, oh, you shouldn't lead a man of God or you ain't leaving the right way? People want you to stay in stuff so bad and just be completely and utterly stunted. Waiting on God. Ain't nobody wait. God is not a bus driver. And this is not one of its stops. Do you hear me? My life is not a bus stop. When I tell you that I'm blessed all over the world, I don't have time to be waiting on nobody. Nothing is about to happen. It's already done. Nothing is getting ready to come to me. It's already here. Nothing is about to be given to me. I already have it. That's just how I operate. But in church, if you keep them on the waiting list, baby, they not going to remove their name. They not going to get up because they don't want to miss their seat. They don't want to miss their turn. No, I got a prayer in. I got a request in. I can't leave. I got to wait till my ticket get called, baby. When your ticket get called, that means you're returning to sender. And I think y'all know what that means. The person that sent you here is calling you back home. Don't pull my ticket, baby. Not for that. No. We're good. Leave my ticket alone, baby. Don't call me home. Oh my goodness. But this is a good video. It was very insightful. And just like from a natural perspective as well as a spiritual one, hopefully, I'm pretty sure I conveyed it as clearly as I possibly could, the correlations between the natural and the spiritual side of places you just should not linger and be in longer, than you need to be. But don't do it. Don't do that to yourself. And don't even do it to the leader, the pastor, the organization head, whoever, whatever the case may be. Know when to make your exit. Like, do it for yourself. One thing that I definitely have learned is that you have people who know when your time is up, but you stayed around, and they get annoyed by you still being there. And that's when people start treating you bad because it's like, why are you still here? Like, ugh. I know somebody right now that's getting treated like that at church. They tired of her. She don't want to leave though. She don't want to leave. They done gave her all the signs that they ready for her to gizzo. She don't want to go. Tell me when I 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 go. Go. Shout out to E40. She don't want to go. She's so connected, and they like to talk about soul ties sexually, but don't nobody in church want to talk about the spiritual soul ties that y'all got with y'all pastors, y'all members, y'all co-laborers, all of that stuff in them pews. Y'all so hooked up, linked up so bad, baby. It is giving very much obsession with your people, with your pastors. But another video. If you've enjoyed this one, let me know. Drop down in the comment section below and let me know what you think about what he said. Do you believe that this is something that really happens with pastors outgrowing or not outgrowing, and members not being able to outgrow pastors because they simply are in survival mode and they're not really teaching and they're not really thriving? They're just trying to keep it all together to preach another message for you. Whew, child, that's a lot. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would love to add you to my 2 cents crew. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. Take care. Bye.